Welcome to the SharkBytes podcast. My name is Roland Knall and I'm one of the co-developers of Wireshark. In this podcast, we will discuss all things about Wireshark as well as topics from the world of packet analysis and SharkFest, which is our packet analysis and developer conference. You will meet interesting people and learn why the truth is always in the packets. Welcome to another recording of the SharkBytes podcast, live from SharkFest. SharkFest sadly has already concluded today, but with me are three of the women in Wireshark tech winners, and we gonna talk a little bit about how the experience was. All of you had your first SharkFest, about what they will take from it, and overall how much fun it was. So who wants to go first? Maybe Maurina, because you weren't here at the beginning. Let's start with you.
Okay. I had a great time here. It was a lot of fun. I started out in the pre-conference classes, in Ross's classes, and learned a lot there that I didn't know. And my previous experience with Wireshark was limited to mostly classes I had taken. And I'd taken a few, and they've all dealt with Wireshark, but it hadn't really gone into a lot of depth. So that class was great. It taught me a lot. And then I've really enjoyed a lot of the classes that I've taken here. I remember one in particular, the presenter went in depth into a problem scenario that he had faced. And as a class, we worked through that, and he pointed out the different packet captures that gave clues as to what was going wrong on the network. And it was really interesting and informative. So I had a really good time here.
Let's move. I can go. Okay. So for me, it was pretty much the same. I think Ross's class really saved me here because, I have very limited knowledge, about use of Wireshark, also from the science classes only. And that really helped me understand it a little bit more in depth and actually to benefit from that, in the later classes. So that was really cool. I actually also really enjoyed the last one, which was also tips and tricks for Wireshark, which really helps, in a daily basis of it. So yeah, I know so many classes in between, which are just very well explained, the methodology was really good. And yeah, I mean, I have to say some of them, I was just sitting, like a scared cat that you see on Instagram videos, because I was oh my God, what are they talking about? But it was so cool that, I could always, reach out to all the people here and basically ask them, if you couldn't follow something on something. And everyone was so supportive, which is really unique. And I have to say, I have so many takeaways, that I would like to utilize in the future if I have the chance. And I'm definitely very satisfied and stunned by the event.
For me, I really enjoyed the learning elements as far as networking is concerned. I was able to meet people like yourself, Roland, and Gerald, and Saka, and, Betty, and Ross, and they kind of gave me the track forward that I need in order to study. So outside of meeting these great people, it was really more impactful for me knowing what I need to learn in order to be at a level where you guys can really utilize me moving forward. And, not only that, but just the wealth of tools that I'm now equipped with in my box, because we come and we're I'm going to learn about Wireshark. But then you learn about the SIP protocol and lens phone and then all of the command line tools that Wireshark has to offer. And it just kind of brings this well-rounded picture for me as far as where I need to go.
From an outside perspective, I always thought that you guys were always traveling as a group. You were always in the middle of things. I really enjoyed that because you could see that you guys were taking it all in. You were trying to correlate with other people. You were always sitting in discussion. It was very hard to reach one of you alone someplace because you were always with interaction, which is exactly what we want to achieve here. Mm. Now, as you said, you have new tools, you utilize a lot. How big of an impact do you think will this have for you in the future?
It'll have a huge impact because this was my first time, even though I work for a consulting firm, I haven't actually been placed on a project in the last year. I've just been upskilling and reskilling. So this was the first time where I was able to recall on my own skills that I had used before. And like I talked about imposter syndrome in the first podcast, even something as simple as SSH, I was freaking out because I couldn't get into the server and I just didn't trust myself that the command was correct. It wasn't that the command was incorrect. It was that I didn't have the correct server domain. So just little things like that, they reinforce that, you do know what you think you know. However, this is how much more you need to learn. So I think that was the really beneficial aspect for me, or even within the SPCAP room instead of escape room, we got to use tools like CyberChef and, things that I had utilized before, but might not have been in my immediate memory recall. So I think that was really interesting.
You guys want to add to that?
Yeah, so I just want to say, again, as a new person to the field, I really enjoyed, getting familiar with the vocabulary, that I wasn't familiar before, or even, some keywords, that I heard, during some classes, during some webinars and so on, and here I really had the opportunity to, kind of establish this vocabulary, in usage, so directly, utilizing it during the specific workshops or even those fun events, which were just it was just socializing, having fun all together, chatting and so on. But you still have no learning element, which was so useful, so valuable. So those learning with fun, which of course is the best way to learn, right? Because then it stays for longer in your memory, and you also have some nice memories attached to it, from the social level.
Did you get to speak to the sponsors at all?
Yeah, very shortly, yeah.
Which ones do you think was the most impressive? Where did you take the most from?
I really enjoyed speaking to the Profitab people, and they were showing me the different devices that they had, and I actually was looking online today, seeing if I can get one for my personal use, just to play around with. We'll see. I'm not sure how much they'll cost, but I think it would be a lot of fun to play around with that and kind of just on my home network start capturing packets and tapping in and seeing.
I think the guys will be happy to hear that and maybe get you in touch with somebody who has some educational device. Those are great people to be around. ProfitUp is a long-time sponsor of SharkFest, and they do a great job supporting the community. If you would have to say, okay, there is one thing we would a future group of women in Wireshark Tech to have that we kind of think would improve the experience, what would that be?
For me, I think you guys have done such an amazing job. It's hard for us to figure out what can be improved for, future generations and future cohorts. But I would say that you have to let us know who the scholarship recipients are, because I had no idea that my classmate here was also a recipient. So had I known that, I would have been able to kind of lean into her more, okay, so what is your experience here? Other than just my friend Maurina, okay, how can we do this journey together as scholarship recipients? Because I think that's kind of what Heather, myself, and Karina attempted to do, and we unknowingly left Maurina out.
I didn't feel left out at all, if that helps. Good.
Yeah. No, but as she said, it was a great job, we were very well welcomed, not only by, the organizers, but also the community. Like I said, everyone was so easy to talk to. There were no weird behaviors or discriminating us, because we were kind of new. No such thing. It was on the contrary, everything was super smooth, really nice. Everyone was just friendly. So yeah, we can just give you more and more compliments, but you get that it was just great,
Oh no, please don't stop.
And the other thing I will say though, I was one who wanted to go to all of the technical workshops. I enjoyed theory and being introduced to new protocols and all of that, but I really like the hands-on. So if you could, for next conference, kind of write and say, okay, well, this is a talk and this is a technical workshop or something, so that I can just say, okay, this is where I'm going, because it was kind of like a guess and check kind of situation.
Yeah, it's sorry.
No, sorry. I was just going to agree with that. I really enjoyed sessions where they would say, particularly Ross's session at the beginning, where he would kind of divide it up and say he'd do a little bit of lecture, and then he'd say, okay, well, let's work on this lab and let's answer these questions and see if you can, work through this and tell me what you think. And that I think was really useful, because rather than watch somebody do it on the screen and try to follow along, it was watch me do this and then take, 10 minutes to do it yourself.
Right.
I feel like that was a really good thing for me.
Well, to be fair, it's hard to do it in the regular session because it was only 45 minutes rather than the whole day. But that's definitely something we can improve upon, especially notifying if there's a hands-on part in the session. I think is a good thing to be able to highlight that in the agenda. That's actually a good idea. We're still learning. That's the fun part. We never stop learning. We never stop improving. The last time we had Women in Wireshark Tech here, we had 2 recipients in Kansas City, and they did the same thing as you 4 did. They stuck together. They kind of moved through the conference together, and that's actually something that was not intended at all at the beginning. It was just something that happened to be, and I really enjoyed that you do it yourself. Yeah, but you're right. Maybe we can do something to promote this internally, at least, so you guys know who you are with each other.
Maybe just one more thing. It's more about like promotion and not the very events. Because I think like many women can be like kind of like scared of the events like this, because it's like, oh my gosh, it's like networking. So it's like the dangerous part, like of many programs, like for women specifically, because we're like bunch of nerds and oh my god, so I think maybe already in this promotion part, like make sure like just like communicate it as something where you can like really have learnings, like independently, like on what level you are, right? Because you're gonna like find something for yourself in whatever situation. So I think that would be like one thing, because I know, for example, like within my scholarship cohort, like there are not many people who applied for the scholarship. And not only because we don't have time, because we have like many classes to attend, but I think people are still like, okay, it's like super technical and it's all the tool, so like, I don't know. Yeah, so I think like just taking the steer away would be good.
Yeah, that's actually what we try to achieve a little bit with those podcasts as well. Because as you said, we are a tech conference. That is always the main focus, but at the same time, we are first and foremost a learning conference.
Right.
And there are people attending SharkFest for the first time who started Wireshark literally a week before. And there are people attending the Shark conference who started Ethereal when it first came out.
Right.
So there is this huge difference between the audience. But I think what we can manage pretty well is that we make it interesting for everyone and have a good attendance in class. One thing I enjoyed particularly this year was that we had one class where people were actually sitting on the floor, which sounds horrible. We don't have enough space, but from our perspective, it sounds really, really great, because this just shows us that the interest comes back. One of the things with those conferences is the pandemic ruined it pretty much for everyone. And so it's really difficult to restart the whole thing after the pandemic. There are people coming, but it's slowly increasing to a level. The last conference before the pandemic, we had 300 people attending in the US. So it's a little bit different now.
The other thing I would say is, although women normally naturally gravitate to other women and we end up getting to meet one another, I think next year it should kind of be mandated and forced that the women in technology should at least go to all of the talks by women in technology. That would kind of make sense,
You mean Megumi-san?
Megumi, yes.
Yeah. No, she's great. She's gotta be at the next conference. I can guarantee you that. She never missed a conference since the beginning.
Wow.
And she's been a trainer for most of them. She's Wireshark Japan. She wrote about 14 books on Wireshark. The old Japanese translation of the program is hers. She's a really, really wonderful character.
And I feel even worse now.
Don't. First of all, there are recordings, so you can always watch it online. No, but it's sad, because that's exactly the issue. There aren't that many women role models in the industry.
But also Betty, she has like so many followers as well, she's like such a bubbly personality.
Yeah.
And I think everyone appreciates it as well.
No, Betty Du Bois is one of my one of those people I really, really love having met. She's just wonderful to be around. And she's so full of energy. She's so full of laughter, and just tries overall to get stuff going.
And thanks to her, we're here, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she invented the program. She kind of suggested the idea and supported it from the get-go, also financially. And she funded this idea, which from 2 became 4. Hopefully we stay at 4, maybe we become more. But yeah, it's one thing you guys said that resonates with me is, how can we make it, what are your ideas? How can we make it more attractive to women to apply for the scholarship?
I'm not really sure, but I would just say it's a marketing thing, because there are definitely women out there who are willing to step up and just, see what happens. I think we're all kind of that type of personality, but I only found out because last year's participant, Sasha, let me know about this year's opportunity. So I'm not sure if I would have been able to find out about it unless you attend the Wireshark website every now and then, which people don't do. So I think it's just making sure that the opportunity is visible for women.
May I ask how Sasha and you know each other?
We're attending the Women's Cybersecurity Immersion Academy.
Yep.
Yeah, at the SANS Institute. We're in the same cohort.
Oh.
So she posted in the group, myself, Maurina, and Heather as well. We're all in the same program. And Karina is in the program via WISIS, Women in Cybersecurity.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how I found out. She posted it in the Slack channel.
And the same story for me, actually. Like in my cohort, like a girl named Carla. Hello, Carla, if you're listening. She also posted it, and I was like, oh, okay, Wireshark, we used it in the lab, so I'll just take a look. But again, I thought, okay, it's a tool. Like, how much can I learn there? So that's why I think it's like you said, like communication, marketing. What plays a role.
Let me just make a short break. Sorry for the short interruption. We just saw somebody lurching outside the door. No, and we thought, well, as we were just talking about you, we take you into the group and have a little discussion about you.
Already?
But first of all, Maurina, sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, no, you're fine. I think Jazsmin and Karina, one thing I see in common with all of us is that we found each other and this program through the Women's Cyber Immersion Academy at the SANS Academy, which is also another scholarship program for women who are looking to get into cybersecurity. And so I think that's a key, is not just the Wireshark Scholarship for Women, but providing more opportunities for women in general, whether it's through SANS or whether through its maybe CompTIA, other opportunities. And obviously, you guys don't have control of that, but these opportunities for women like me who might never have considered a career in tech, and then all of a sudden, it's they see these scholarship opportunities, they see these jobs and things opening up, and all of a sudden realize, hey, maybe I can do this. And so, yeah, absolutely. And so I think these sorts of opportunities in the greater tech world in general are a great way to bring women into tech and also into Wireshark.
Thank you, Betty Du Bois, for joining us. We were just discussing the situation about what would be a good way to promote the program further, to have it a more transparency of what we can do here, and especially as was mentioned before, that a lot of women do not apply or shy away from applying because they think, okay, this is a nerdy thing, I need to know that much stuff to be able to come here, which in reality you don't. We are really nice people.
Yeah, we are. Actually, that's why I'm late, because I was hugging people. They were leaving, and they're like, oh, can I get a Betty hug? And so, yeah. So I'm like, and then I realized the time, and I'm like, oh, someone's supposed to be there. I think, I want to go. But yeah, it's a small community, so it's a tight community.
and which is one of the benefits, right? So we love that part. You know, we have a chance to actually individually talk to different people and meet different people. You know, and in a large conference, that's darn near impossible. But I think to promote the program, you know, y'all came in, you know, from you know, you just said it was advertised in a SANS program.
Right.
It would be wonderful if someone in the Wireshark community went ahead and had a strategic plan to go ahead and reach out to different types of programs that are Wireshark. You know, they have to use Wireshark. It's introduced in their courses, like you were saying last night, but they're just like, oh yeah, and you can do that in Wireshark. You know, you can capture and you can see the packets. Oh, look, I'm going to expand the detail, and you can see, look, there's protocols, and then move on to the next thing. And they don't get to go in depth. But when you're actually in real life working, you're going to need to know how to manipulate Wireshark itself and also understand the protocols underneath. So this is actually, you know, almost, there are so many different types of positions in either the, you know, whether it's NetOps, SecOps, DevOps, it doesn't matter. If it's ops, eventually, if you see the packet, you see everything. If you understand the packet, you understand everything. And so more, but they don't realize it's like, hey, there's actually, oh, look, there's a program for that. There's a conference for that. There's certification for that. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know. So someone with a strategic plan for reaching out for different educational, you know, like SANS, for just an example, or any other type of thing like that, any other security certifications, or I personally would love to have more application people here, you know, and a more of a mix. And so, you know, to take the time to find out, all right, so if I'm actually a person, a DevOps person, and I do coding for different applications, you know, where do they go to school to learn that? We should also advertise there. And then, like for security, you know, I would love to reach out to like Black Hills and say, hey, you know, would you consider having a blurb on your site about the Women in Wireshark program, you know, scholarship program. And in return, perhaps, as I say on camera, without warning you first, hey, maybe on our site, you know, the Wireshark Foundation site, maybe we'll also, if you're doing a scholarship for whether it's women or it's women in color, women in color. It used to be like a comedy on TV, but if you're, you know, whether it's, you know, I'm just, whoever group I am trying to bring in for more diversity,
hit me late, but it hit me.
That's what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, and so, you know, if we could have like cross-platform, you know, I will advertise your scholarship program and diversity program, you know, and in return you do mine, and it benefits us both. Reaching out to that many people, managing that is a big job from a time situation. But wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, it would be great. You just started off with the Wireshark Foundation, so it's not, we're not there yet to have a full-fledged organization, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, that's definitely something I think that we should pursue. This is a course that we can definitely take. I mean, I'm shameless in cross promotion. I'm really, because this is the only way we as an open source community can afford spots and can afford stuff. When a company comes here and like Beyond is when they were on the podcast, one of the conditions was you guys promote our stuff, we promote your stuff. I want a radio program here for the sole purpose, and me in the beginning, for the sole purpose of having her name to be able to promote. So I'm all for having cross promotion, and I'm shameless in regard to that. Well, we have to vet who we talk to, but you know.
Yeah. You have to be, you know, you have to vet first.
Yeah. But that's definitely an issue to go forward. But I was more looking in the direction of an answer of how can we frame the program itself to be more open to
say what is the goal, because, you know, promoting the goal, what's currently, you know, the Google Docs to fill out and, you know, just apply for it. While that's great, why should I?
Yeah,
is not necessary. That information is not there. What can I expect while I go is not there. What should I do afterward because of it is not there. And that would be, in my opinion, lovely, that kind of information. Sometimes we forget that we're so small and tight, and we all know each other. I mean, I've known Roland for what is it now, 10, 12 years now. We get so close that sometimes we forget that anybody new that comes in, they might not realize, oh, hey, it's different here. This is what we do. And hey, during the year, I only see Roland definitely once a year, maybe twice if I do the Europe one. But in between those times, we are constantly going back and forth. And it does go even deeper than the professional thing. I know, we talk like friends, and making those connections in a small environment, that's a huge deal. And so letting them know to expect that so that it's easier to take advantage of it, because you were like, oh, wow, this is so nice, so small. I'm getting to talk to these people. Knowing that ahead of time and being able to plan, okay, who do I want to meet and what questions should I ask? And perhaps even better, when they come, it would be awesome to go ahead and have assign each new scholarship person, a mentor.
Right.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Okay.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm just sitting here thinking of is remembering that as women, we have female issues. We're probably a lot less likely to want to leave our kids at home, right? So luckily for me, I don't have children. Heather's not here right now, but she did bring her daughter to the conference. So I think maybe it would be beneficial to start on the collegiate level, people who are
get them young, train them right.
That's right, or maybe even high school at a lot of the technical high schools, because then they can, make the decision, and, then you have parents who will probably pay for travel and room and board, you know what I mean? And they're a lot more likely to have the freedom and flexibility to come, because guys just leave their kids with their wives.
For quite a while, I brought my kids to SharkFest. Mm-hmm. And,
not that kids are a female problem, but female responsibilities.
Yeah, and it is often, the more likely role, right, for a woman to think it's like, oh, can we do that? How will we do that? The logistics of that. And to think of that ahead of time, it's usually a woman's more likely to do that, in my opinion.
Right.
And at least that's how it is in our family. But also my husband came.
Oh,
so his job was to handle the children, and I got to have a good time at the conference, which was fun. But he's a teacher, so he had the summers off. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, it worked out really well, and not everybody's in that position.
Can I just jump in real quick, with regards to the previous topic, about the promotion? Because I can tell from a person that really did not know a lot about, Wireshark in general. And basically, I know that in our mindsets, Wireshark is a tool, right? So it's okay, why should I go, to a conference which is sacrifice just to a tool, I'm happy to learn some features, but do I have to, take, for example, days off, to learn about the tool and so on? That's why I think, again, communicating what we can really learn from that, what can we get from that, how we can contribute to that, because we're also becoming a part of community, right? Which is not to underestimate. So I think this is also, a crucial thing, because I was okay, should I go to the other side of the world, to learn a little bit more of the tool, or should I just open YouTube and
just watch a YouTube video,
right?
That's all it really is. I mean, all you do have to do is right click on stuff,
exactly,
figure it out.
Yeah, and then I came here, I was damn, sorry, it's way more than a tool, it's about learning altogether, exchange, not only the functionality but everything about it, the whole technology, just being used with it. So that's why I think, the perception can be, a little bit narrow, it was narrow-minded from my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is, where we can have room for improvement. And also when it comes to where we can popularize, the event. Mm-hmm. For example, I'm a member of the Women in Cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. I also am a member of Cybersecurity. So these are just cybersecurity organizations, Cyberjitsu. They're name it, so many Latina in tech and stuff. So I think, at least in my cohort, every time someone sees any opportunities, they just put a link and it's hey, there's a conference, there's a scholarship, there's something. So I think, using this word of mouth instead these communities who all suffer from the imposter syndrome because we're never good enough, we never learn enough and so on. This is real, such an easy way to reach us
from that. I think so much more. Yeah.
So this is, so easy to reach huge communities, but we just need to use the right wording. And I'm saying it as a former marketing person, that
exactly. Word matter.
Exactly. The word of mouth is the best, communication channel. Yes. So I'm sure all of us are gonna, spread the word. But I think we need a little bit more than that.
By the way, they mentioned before is you're actually demonstrating, or the other 3B actually demonstrates exactly what you're saying, because you wouldn't be here because of Sasha.
Right. I was just going to say, I bet, just think of all the good that Sasha has done, and when she was studying for some of her GIAC studies, there was different syntax things that she had to I have to know this, right off the bat, Betty, what am I going to do? And she reached out to me, and, we had an hour Zoom call on, all right, so this is what you need to focus on, and this is why, and this is what you need, and these are the ones that use the same syntax, and these are the other open source tools that use that same syntax, focus on that part, and then, do the outliers, and then there was the cheerleading part of, you could do it. Well, tell me what's going on, and all that other stuff, and how much of your time you're putting in, and the better ways to study, and the better ways to cram, and what have you, and, so the personal part, but then also, too, the technical part, it was just because she knew that she could say it out loud to me. And
that's one of the problems, because the moment you said that, I had Track It Pacer back in my head, because like you said, I know there were some idiots going on saying, well, a man could never call you that, and you would never offer an hour to a man. No, that's exactly the point. You wouldn't. And that's rightfully so, because he's not required to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We created, or a lot of men created, such a hostile environment that it's difficult to reach out and just ask for help, because the first response is, "You that stupid."
Right.
And we are at all.
He tweeted something about her studies, and I could tell from the words she chose that she was having trouble, and I reached out. And, would you have done that necessarily? Maybe not.
I would have definitely reached out to you, but we have a completely different set together.
Right.
That's the thing. A question I wanted to ask: if you can spend with any person on SharkFest, you can spend a whole day talking about whatever, who would you choose and why?
Gerald, call Radio.
I would have said Radio. Yeah.
I say Gerald. Not that I don't want the same opportunity with Radio. It's just that this is SharkFest, and it's about Wireshark. And to me, he's the person who I haven't gotten to ask my questions to just yet. So I'm super excited that I got his wife's number, Karen Combs, and she is super awesome. And I want to ask Gerald how we can create this neural network analyzer for Wireshark. That's what I want to do. And I'm going to talk to him until it's done.
There you go.
Next year, the question's coming.
And a follow-up question?
Don't wait for next year.
Yeah. He told me to get started with, a couple studies, but yeah.
The follow-up question would be, we used to have something called the Wireshark Developer Den throughout the year, where we had a monthly Zoom session where people could just log on, ask questions, whatever they wanted to have for an hour. This was due to the pandemic.
Right.
There was varying people attending. Sometimes it was full. Sometimes we get some surprising guests.
I would love to.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then we will talk internally if we revise that idea, at least monthly, to have some session. So, listen, it was really wonderful meeting you. Thank you very much for doing this podcast again. Thank you, Betty, for, first of all...
Apologize for being late.
Oh, not a problem. Jumping into the podcast and at the same time creating this wonderful program and being the person you are.
There we go.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. This was another installment of the SharkBytes podcast. See you in the next one. Bye. Thank you for listening to this installment of the SharkBytes podcast. If you want to stay informed about upcoming episodes, please subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or your podcasting platform of choice. My name is Roland Knall. See you next time.